You know, I hate that black people have such a bad reputation in America, but there are times when I understand where it comes from. Cause I'm walking home this morning. I'm walking home last night, and like me, I got my headphones on. I got some Clapton playing. I'm chilling. I'm just trying to get home. Okay, I got off work. It was a long day. Frustrated. I smell like fish. I'm just trying to go home. And suddenly some guy comes up from behind me and he like steps off the sidewalk. He stands in the middle of the street yelling at me, making all these gestures and shit. And I'm like, take off my headphones and I'm like, what do you want, man? And he starts yelling at me he's yelling at me like, you've been following me for 4 blocks. I seen you 4 blocks back. I'm like, what the hell? How am I following you and you're behind me? You know, and he's sitting there asking me like, are you a cop? I'm like, what? This is the first time in my life I've ever been accused of being a cop. I mean, how many cops got dreads? Okay? I mean, I'm sure they exist. I'm just saying, I personally have not seen any cops with dreads. And then, I don't know, he just keeps yelling and screaming like, you been following me for 4 blocks, man, that's bullshit. And I think he said something about like he came from his girls and he ain't selling no drugs. And I'm like, you sure? Cause like you say you're not on drugs, but how paranoid do you have to be to think that someone in front of you is following you? I mean, I tried telling him, like, hey man, I just got off work. All I want to do is go home. I don't give a damn about you. But every time I open my mouth to speak, he interrupts me and he just keeps going on about a bunch of shit. And at one point in time, lifting his shirt up, saying like, hey man. And I think he was trying to show me like he doesn't have any guns or weapons on him, which I was kind of relieved because, for a while there I was thinking, am I about to get stabbed by a crackhead? What is going on here? And he, so he's standing there with his shirt lifted, talking about, hey man, like, I don't want no trouble, man. I ain't trying to fight you. You don't mess with me. I don't mess with you. And I'm like, I didn't even realize you were there until you came up and started yelling at me. And so eventually I realized, okay, like, I'm just gonna stand here and stare at you until you go away. So that's what I did. I just stood there, quietly stared at him. He yelled at me a little bit more, and then eventually I guess he ran out of shit to say. And he just said, you have a good day, sir. And he ran off in the other direction. And I took the long way around to go home, just in case he followed me. Because I just did not trust that guy. Like, something was up there. Like I said, you come up from behind me yelling about how I'm following you. And calling me a cop. I don't think anyone in the world has ever confused me for a cop. Like, how good of a detective would you have to be to follow somebody from in front of them? But that's not, and a lot of weird shit like that happens. Cause like earlier this week I went to pay rent, and like I get to the office as they're coming back from lunch, and it's like there was a woman there peeing on the ground in front of the office, and they're telling her no, you can't do that, and she's just like, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were coming back, and it's like there's a note on the door saying that they'll be back at X time, and it's like 5 minutes past when the sign says they'd be back. So you should assume they're probably coming back any moment now. And then, worst of all, like she goes inside and asks them for an application, so she can try to get in there. And I'm like, they just saw you peeing on the floor outside in broad daylight. You really think they're gonna let you move in? I remember one time I was walking home from work, and there's this. Once again, I got my headphones on. I'm just trying to shut the world out. and there's some guy yelling and screaming. He just keeps turning. Like we're walking through a parking lot in front of this funeral home thing, and like I just see him. He keeps turning his head and screaming, and I'm like, just ignore him, just ignore him. But then at one point in time, like he turns his head to me, and I hear, and I think I hear him say, "Yeah, I'm talking to you," and I'm like. So I take my headphones off, and he's like, and I'm like, what? And then he comes running at me. I'm like, ah, shit, I should have kept my damn headphones on. But then he just like holds his hand out. He's like, yo, man, yo. And I'm like, I just wanted to let you know I'm not talking to you. I'm like, oh, okay, good. And just, I'm talking to that guy over there. Apparently there's some guy walking at the funeral place. And then he starts telling me, yeah, because like he sees you coming from this way, I'm coming from this way. He acting like he don't know which way to go. And I'm yelling, and I'm sitting here yelling at him, and then he starts yelling at the guy again. And he's telling him shit like, you walk with spirits and shit. You should fear no man. And I'm like, I appreciate where you're coming from, man, and I get it, but you crazy. Yeah, that's what it's like. This is me, for the most part, I know that I'm this, like, hey, I'm an ugly, fat black man with some nasty looking hair. Like, usually, if I'm just mean mugging the whole time, the majority of people leave me alone. But every now and then, you get some weird shit happening. Ugh.